Okay, so last week we had learned about the Medrash Tanchuma and the Targum at the beginning of Shiur Shiurim, which discussed the 10 types of song in the world. And we're going to continue that thought and bring it full circle, because if you remember the words of Rav Moshe Shapiro and his Shiurim, the concept of Shiur is, the word Shiur itself means a circle, a circular yoke that you put on an animal, for example, to lead it, like you put around a horse's collar. It's a circle, and it leads you in the right direction, hopefully. And the idea being that when things are concluded from their beginning, something that you were thinking about, I'll call it a creative process, a hope, a wish, a dream, something you've been wanting to complete, bringing your kids to the chuppah, right? That's the completion of, from the moment of conception and birth, and you bring them to the chuppah. That's why people do two things under the chuppah. They either sing or they cry, or both, right? A lot of singing, a lot of crying. But those crying tears are not tears of joy, which are an expression of simcha, as is Shira as an expression of simcha. Okay, now, so every time we had one of those 10 songs, it meant that, as we explained last time, that the world had taken another step forward towards the ultimate Shira. Because as we said, the first Shira was sung by Adam Harishon, when he realized that he wasn't going to die and his world didn't go dark on him like he thought Friday night after his chet, the world was going to go dark on him completely. And when the sun rises on Shabbos morning, he says, Mizmor Shir Li Yom HaShabbos, Tov Lahodos Lashem, because there's hope for him and hope for mankind. It's not over. One chet does not destroy man, but rather gives him a chance for tshuva and tikkun. And that process will be finalized by the 10th singer, who's going to be Mashiach. Who's going to, Az, what do we say? Az Nashir, we'll say Shir Chadash. There's going to be a brand new, but let's pull it this way, Shir Hitchadshut. Because we're going to be renewing the man to what its original potential was. And that's really what it is. Every song is an aspect of Chadash. Shira Chadasha, Shibchu Geulim, right? Why? Because Chidush means that it goes back to a renewal, going back to the original idea, when it was fresh, when it was young, when that baby was just born and everybody's wishing you, right? You should be zoicha to be megadol the baby, l'torah, l'chuppah, masim toivim. Well, today they say le-ben Torah, l'chuppah, l'masim toivim, because they're already worried about shidduchim when they get born, and for good reason. But everybody should have the right shidduchim. That's a big shira. That's a big breakthrough, and that's why. What do we say about a shidduch? It's compared to what? Kriyas Yamsuf, because that was a major hitchadshut, Klal Yisrael leaving Avdus and going to Chayru, not a simple thing at all. And similarly, a person's parnasa is compared to Kriyas Yamsuf, because that's your renewable source of energy. Let's put it that way, right? Money and parnasa and lechem. Okay, so now we're going to see. So that's what we touched on last time. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to move over those 10 songs and go to, from that Chazal, all the way update it to like 200 years ago, to a Torah that Rabbi Nachman taught. It's Torah Tzadik Beis, and it's in the second volume of Likutei Maharan. And here, he actually recasts the 10 songs that Klal Yisrael needs to do in this final era of Mashiach. In other words, in order to get to the 10th song, and there's a lot of analysis that we have to do. We did very briefly a little overview about what those 10 songs are and what each stage meant and why were those people involved. Well, one of them we know was Miriam. Miriam plays a very important role. She is listed specifically in the Torah as one of the singers, along with Moshe, not even Aaron. She supersedes Aaron in that regard, that she is a singer. And we also know that the second Shira, in other words, the third of all time, Adam, Shiras Yamsuf, right? Yaacov, and then the Ale Be'er, which is in Bamidbar, as we mentioned last time. That was for the Be'er Miriam, which is also critical even before Matan Torah. Okay? And that's what we're going to do a little analysis today of the connection between Miriam and Shira and the critical transitional period between two events that are the core events of Klal Yisrael, other than Shuz Mitzrayim, which is really is Shuz Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, and Matan Torah. There was an interim period in which water becomes the main issue. Afterwards, lechem becomes an issue, but first water. Okay, so we're going to do a little analysis of what was going on over there, and what is the message for us in terms of understanding the mechanics of Miriam, Shira, Mayim. Why? Because two things from Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman taught us a Torah about the 10 songs, and we're going to take a look at them. He chose 10 kapitlach of Tehillim to represent those 10 aspects of song. But he also told a story about the 7 beggars and the final day, and the 6th day, which, as we've been learning, represents which period in history? The 6th millennium, our millennium, which is associated with the Midah of Yesod, otherwise known as Yosef. And we are in the millennium of Yosef, transitioning to Malchus of Yehuda. And we're right at that critical place. In fact, the time that the year that we start literally moving towards, I'll give an anatomical analogy, please take it in the right perspective, that we know by bris milah is the bris milah is the crown. When you remove the orla at a bris milah, you're unveiling the crown, so to speak. The source of life, the source of creation, the source of holiness, the source of Kedusha. Avram Avinu's Kedusha was bris milah. Klal Yisrael's Kedusha is bris milah. Yosef HaTzadik, bris milah. The crown of the Jewish people, and what makes us unique, Mamleches Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh, is our fact that we brought morality and Kedusha to the world in the aspect of Shmirat the Brit Kodesh. Okay, that's what we're all about. And when Jews stray from that, we lose our greatest power of all. What's a Jew's greatest power? His words. Our Kohen, right? How do we know? Because it said Bilam wanted to curse Moshe Rabbeinu and curse Am Yisrael, and Balak said, "Listen, it's not about military stuff here, because that's Esav al Charbach Tichya. What is it? Hakol Kol Yaacov. If we can stymie the Kol Yaakov, then we got him." And who in that generation was representing the leadership, the sphere of Klal Yisrael, if it were, that was dominant, was the sphere of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Netzach. And he said, Moshe's giving them the Torah. Moshe's making sure the Jewish people live forever. Literally, the most critical point. And Balak says, Balak and Bilam says, Balak says, we're going to have to get a guy like Bilam, who's also, his strength is his ability to curse and destroy life. Like, if you hated somebody, that was Bilam's business. DestroyYourEnemy.com. That was his business. A very, very successful business, by the way. Very successful. You didn't like somebody, you went to Bilam, he put the whammy on him, and it was over. And so Balak said, he researched him online. He checked his resume, checked his references. Yeah, this guy is the best mechashef in the world. So he was the chief, he was the head of the department of Kishuf in Baiparo. Nope, that's a great job. He had all the qualifications. So he gets the job. So Klal Yisrael, when we fail in our midah of Yosef, how do we fail? Intermarriage, lack of fidelity, and anything that takes away Kedushas Yisrael. Now, Kedushas Yisrael, essentially, our Kedusha centers around 3 vital areas. Okay? What are those 3 vital areas? They are the core of what people identify as when you say a person is a shomer mitzvos, or the quote-unquote orthodox, whatever that means, you look at 3 core mitzvos. What are those 3 core mitzvos? Shabbos, kashrus, taras hamishpacha. Taras hamishpacha being, of course, the female element of Shmirat HaBrit. So, and which facilitates birth. See, so what people realize is that there's the Sumira Vaseitov. Sumira is desanctifying the Brit, being metameh, using it for what it's not created for. But when you create a Jewish neshama, which is the epitome of Kedusha, then you've actually demonstrated Shmirat HaBrit. You've done it by bringing a child to the world. And when you make a bris, right, then that's it. Then that is literally the pinnacle. That's why, and we'll go into detail, but there's this idea which has become very controversial in recent years, which is what? Why bris milah has become the biggest problem or issue that people are worried about for health reasons. And maybe justifiable. What? Mitzitza b'peh. What in the world is mitzitza b'peh? Well, simply taken on a halachic level, it's a health practice to remove blood, but on a more mystical level, it means that we understand that our peh is dependent on Kedushas HaBris. You want to daven? You want to have your words be effective? If there's no Shmirat HaBrit, and therefore they mix the peh with the dam brit to say, that's our schus. In fact, it was the minig and klal. It is a halacha, actually. When there's a bris milah to perform on Rosh Hashanah, there is this idea that the Baal Tokeya be the mohel, or, and do the mitzitzas hapeh, and then do what? Blow shofar. So you have the zechus of the dam milah and the dam shofar, and the tkiyas shofar together. There's such an inyan that to mix the dam habris with the tkiyas shofar. No, there's not. It's just a very powerful tefillah. It's like you have a chance to, really accomplish a great deal. It's a prayer opportunity. Better than that, I can't say. It's a tefillah opportunity. And our words become holy words. Our words become words that you want, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will listen to. And the greater the tzaddik, the more powerful the prayer. If we've learned anything, when I told you about some of the tzaddikim, we learned about Abir Yaacov and this one, that one. They literally fulfill what Chazal tells, tzaddik gozer v'Hakadosh Baruch Hu mekayim. This is based explains a very beautiful shot, a pasuk regarding Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, who created the holy Shvatim, right? So we found Tikkun Habris by Avram, because mitaso shlema, all of his children were holy. None of them were separated out of Klal Yisrael. Although Yosef, who ended up being the holiest in certain regard, that was the issue. And there was but they had to work out how integrating Yosef into the rest of the Shvatim. And that's really the point. Because in the 6th millennium, which is the era of Yosef, we have to make a transition between the era of Yosef and the era of David HaMelech. And the analogy being, as we reached the point of the Brit Milah, as we know, from a cosmological point of view, the human anatomy is an analogy, right, to the spiritual forces. So look where we started. We started at the head, and we're all the way down by the legs. We're all the way at the bottom. What do we call our generation? Ikvasa de Mashiach. We're transitioning from the Makom Milah to the Raglayim, and that's it, because Raglayim is the Malchus. It's actually, we say, the real, by the way, and it's always a feminine aspect, as we know. It's really not the king, but it's the queen. It's the queen, it's the Malka, because Klal Yisrael is nimshol to the Bat Melech, where the princess, the lost princess, is the Shechina, which is the Bat Yisrael. So when Reb Nachman wrote a story, he told a story about this princess, right? And what happened to her. This is the story of the 6th day, which really is, as we could understand it, the story of our era, because he was looking ahead to our generation. He said, look, this princess is captured by the king. Who's the king? Who's the evil king? the Yetzer Hara, who captures Jewish neshamos, right, and wants to keep them for his own personal benefit, meaning that the sins of Klal Yisrael are what feed the Satan, literally. Literally, that's their food. The power of the non-Jew in the world is, the Satan is powered by Jewish Averos. Hence, he doesn't really want Jews to do a lot of mitzvos. Spends his entire day and night doing what? Shooting arrows at us. We can only escape into the water. So what happened in the story? The story is the princess runs away from the king. She escapes into a water castle of 10 walls. Water castle, 10 walls. So Rabbi Nassan Breslover, student of Rabbi Nachman, wrote about this, very important, in his Likutei Halachos Tolayim Daled. He wrote his understanding, and I'm going to tell you something, we were more on target than Baruch Hashem, Baruch Shekivanu. He speaks about Az Yishra Moshe. Just the things we're talking about. He said, the water is the Torah, but it's also reminiscent of Kriyat Yamsuf. That was that moment. We're finally breaking free of Paro, who represents the Yetzer Hara. But what happens? Paro comes back for one final attack, right? And what were they shooting at Bnei Yisrael all night long? Arrows and they call it blistarot, missiles. What else? We could add drones at this point, I think. We can add in drones, right? They shot down an Iranian drone last night. Of course, Iran doesn't recognize that it was a drone. What do they think? What do they think it is? I don't know. Okay. But anyway, so what prevented the Jews from being destroyed by these missiles? The Anan HaKavod. It's only Hashem's protection. Analogy for us. There really is no way we can stand up to that onslaught. It's the Anan HaKavod. It says protecting Klal Yisrael. That's all we can really hope for. And but it says Rav Nassan, the poison of the arrows did seep through the clouds and did make Klal Yisrael sick. With 10 different types of poison. Comes along the beggar, the beggar of the 6th day, and he says, no problem, I'm the most powerful beggar. I have the power to remove those arrows, or remove the poison of those arrows, really, and remove the arrows and remove the poison. Okay?
What's the poison?
So that we're going to talk about right now. So the key word here is REFUAH, healing, right? Sickness and health. The arrows and poison are literally what kill a person. That's analogous to a mortal threat. Not necessarily only physically, but to their neshama, to their emotions. And we can have people that were very shattered by events in their childhood, or events, people went through the Holocaust, for example, right? They may not be now physically at risk, but you cannot tell me that they weren't mortally wounded emotionally, right? I know a case of a child of 4 Holocaust survivor grandparents, meaning both parents were children of Holocaust survivors, and she was the next generation. And if you think the baggage doesn't come down and affect the family 3 generations later, the poison needs to be removed. It just affects a person in so many different ways. Healthy emotions, the ability to connect, the ability to trust, the ability to connect, the ability to relate normally, right? All these things are wounded, hard to repair. Okay, so we're going to look at Rav Nachman said here, and I'm going to look at it in the context of what happened right after Kriyas Yamsuf. Okay, so what did Rabbi Nachman say? He said there were those 10 arrows. He said those 10 arrows represent 10 spiritual machalot. I'm going to give them a name. You want to hear? This is my way of approaching it. The Orchos Tzadikim gives us a list of the 10 shlechte midos, the 10 bad midos. And this is the spiritual affliction. Okay, you ready? Let's take a guess. Who can guess what they are? What are the 10 terrible, how shall I say, behaviors that represent the corruption in midos? Well, gaiva is kind of like the arch. Yeah. Gaiva is the petri dish in which all of these corruptions grow. That's how the Ochas Sadiqim frames it anyway. So here's a couple. Chutzpah. Somebody who has a lot of chutzpah. When you say, you don't want your kid to be chutzpahdik, right? What is chutzpah? Chutzpah essentially means a lack of kibud ava'im, a lack of kibud horim v'morim, a lack of kavod chaverim, inability to give kavod to somebody, and your adrabah, to be chutzpahdik to them. Number 2, sinah, hatred. Now, this could be sinas chinam, without any reason. I just hate that person. I just can't stand that person. That person just bothers me. Or it's because of some reason. Maybe they did something to them. Maybe they did something to their family. Maybe who knows what. Sinah. Sinas achim, which is the, okay. And let's always talk about the reverse. So what's the opposite of sinah? Ahava. Or I would not say, it's ahava, but ahava schinam. I think it's the more point. It's like, it's not ahava because of necessarily incredibly earned, relationship with great depth. It's avas chinam. It's a willingness to look at people and just love them. Just love them. Avas abrios. By the way, in Pirkei Avos, when it talks about the Kinyan Torah, about the midos of a Talmid Chacham, besides just being smart, he's got to know, but it talks about his character. It says, ahuv, ovis hamakom, ovis abrios. This is what it says. The Halom Torah Lishma is described this way. He's loved. He loves people. He loves Hashem. Misameach hamakom, misameach habrios. He's not always kvetching to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how everything is terrible, but he's happy and he's happy and he's bringing joy. And our generation, if you can show me people who are happy and bringing joy, non-stop, they're already like in the realm of tzaddikim. Even in the times of the Gemara, it said that there was these 2 clowns used to go around. Clowns is very popular now in medical clowning, right? They figured out that if you're happy, you're going to feel better. You're going to get better. There was a famous story about this guy who locked himself away. What was his name again? Norman Cousins was diagnosed with a terrible cancer, and he locked himself and he watched the Three Stooges for. Or was it the Little Rascal? Something like that. Three Stooges, again and again and again, and he came out, he was better. So what we know is, and we know this from our literature, simcha is the main refuah against the illness. Well, then you can figure out what the greatest illness is atzvus, which is, well, you'll see the list here. Depression, sadness. So here you go. Chutzpah, sinah, kas. This is from the Orchos Sadiqim. Just you're balkas. You anger easily. You're irritable, and you this doesn't apply to parents of small children. No, I'm only kidding. Gosh almighty. Okay, achzarios. Not caring. Apathy towards others' suffering. They don't care. They don't care. Do you know that 300,000 people became refugees in Russia just in his last few weeks? On top of all the misery, that has gone on over there, because of the new fighting with Iran making itself a whole balabos over there, right? Because there's no more ISIS, because they got rid of those guys. So now the next Rishayim can come in, the bigger Rishayim can come in, and no one cares. No one cares. But if Israel shoots down a drone that had nobody in it, that had weapons to attack, the United Nations says, we have to de-escalate tensions. Just what for a piece of metal? But for 300,000 people, that doesn't make our radar screen. Achzarios. And daga, worry. Person is overly worried about life. They live in constant anxiety. I think Daiga would be best classified as anxiety. Anxiety, fear. Next on the hit list, kina, jealousy. You don't hate the person, but you're awfully jealous of them. You might even like them very much. They have the family, they have the house, they have the car, they have the kids, they have the position, they have the cover, they have the money, whatever it is that they have. Atzlus, sloth, right? You're just too lazy to do anything about it. You'd love to do good stuff, but let me check my emails first. I think the greatest challenge of our generation right now is to go away from the avdus of the phones and of the media and of the net, right? We have to escape the net. And you have to have it for parnasa and this. Now, how am I going to know what's going on? Yeah, but in that net, there's all kinds of stuff that's going to, at minimum, completely put you into zombie mode, and you don't then go about your business. Your avodas Hashem, for sure. Unless you're broadcasting Torah or something. Now, kamtsanus. People who are just stingy. They don't have a leiv tov. They don't forgive another Jew a few bucks. Right? Jack Benny, Lahavdil. Right? What did he say? Your money or your life? And he said, I'm thinking. Let me think it over. Give me a minute. Okay. So kamtsanus is in ayin ra. It's ayin ra as opposed to ayin tova. It's midas bilam and not midas Avram Avinu. That's not the way of Jews. Jews are rachmanim, baishanim, gomle chasadim. We're open-handed and we give. Can't help but give. Sheker. Sheker means that your relationship to the truth is tenuous. You fool yourself, you fool everybody else, you say what you need to say, you cheat, you take liberties, and your word is not your word. Your word is not your word. And that's such a lack of integrity. When you say, I gave my word. I heard they're trying to move the borsa, with the diamond business. You know how they do business in diamonds? A handshake. And I think they say, what do they say? They say mazel tov, or they say mazel tov? Man, if you can't keep that word, you're out of the business in one day. So I heard that they're trying to replace that by digitizing digital money transfers. That's a terrible idea. What a terrible idea. There goes the integrity. I'm not going to steal it. I'm not going to go back on a handshake, but on a digital transfer? Who cares about a digital transfer?
Doesn't even hold up. Like in halacha.
Yeah, see, those kinyanim of handshake and mazel tov are halachic because it became the minhag HaMedina. When you do business and that's the norm of business, then you are bound by it. If somebody made up that idea, then it's nothing. But if that's the way business is done in this industry, then you are bound by it. Okay, now let's see further. The last one is chanifus. Chanifus means flattery, meaning that your main agenda is to gain people's approval. You'll do whatever it takes. You'll sell yourself out, your principles. You'll sell out your own principles because you want to be chummy with whoever it is that you want to be chummy with. I don't know that we have the time today, but I would like to correlate these 10 to the Aseres HaDibros. You want to just have some fun with it for a second? Okay. Go ahead. All right. Which one of the Aseres HaDibros? Let's go for let's go for Shabbos. Start with Shabbos. That's a little easier. Which one would you say corresponds best to Shabbos? I think Kamtsanus, because Shabbos is right. When people work on Shabbos, they're afraid they can't. They can't deal with the idea I'll miss a payday or whatever it is. But Shabbos, the concept of Shabbos and the concept of Shemitah is, don't worry. Hashem is open-handed with us, and we are open-handed with others. We have a sense of imuna, we have a sense of bitachon. We don't think that we're responsible for everything. It's actually, this past week's parsha, the concept of mun. Mun is an amazing thing. By the way, if we want to really, really understand this on a deeper level, what did the babies in Mitzrayim eat when they were put out to pasture because they were hiding them from the Mitzrayim? What did Hashem feed them? What did the Malachim feed them? Where they had it from the rocks. What did the kids have? Honey and milk. What did mun taste like? Yeah. There's an analogy between mun and that. Mun essentially is mother's milk. And I'll put it to you this way. When a baby's born, it can't take the foods, right? Those foods will kill the baby. So it has to start with what we will call food that's undifferentiated into this lower world. It's not a coconut. You know, a baby's not going to do much with a coconut without the teeth. You know what I'm saying? Even with the teeth. But food in its original source is mun. And guess what? Everything that comes down to this world, and this is a very deep idea, but it's a very, I believe, true idea. Hashem gives us shefa all the time. Hashem is raining down on us, a blizzard of wealth and goodness at all times, literally a blizzard. Problem is, we don't have the kalim to receive it. And what are the main kalim to receive this shefa? Let's go back full circle. Tefillot. If you got your davening in order, you can literally bring the shefa down. That's what great tzaddikim do. They literally can daven and bring down refuos and yeshuos. They can take that shefa, capture it in a package, and hand it to you. All right? What are the building blocks of creation? We know what preceded creation. Torah. And what is Torah comprised of? Letters. The letters represent a certain shefa, a certain energy, a certain value, call it. Something nourishing, a vitamin, call it something like that, a packet of energy. That's what food is, right? Really. So when Hashem's showering us with goodness, its original form is the letters of the Torah. When it goes into the lower worlds, right, into our world, it starts to concretize, level by level by level. So money, literally money, take the money out of your pocket. What was that originally? It was a form of letters of the Torah. And by the way, what are Jewish neshamos? Are letters combined in different formations in different ways. Because we are all the divine energy that's contained in the letters. Just we mixed up a different way. We have a different DNA pattern. That's why Hashem made us to do our work in this world. So money originated as the same place where neshamos come from. That's why Rabbi Nachman says very rich people are very popular, which seems to be obvious, but it's not necessarily obvious. You might think that people would hate all rich people, just despise them out of jealousy. You walk around, you say, "I'm afraid to say I'm a rich person," because they're gonna hate you. No, when a person's rich, they kind of let people know they're rich, and they spread their wealth around, and people can't get enough of them, and they're happy to invite them and be